You feel powerful now.
Okay, is the red light on?
The red light is on.
Was it right? Was it the right red light?
It's the right light. I hope so.
It's the right one. You got it.
Okay.
The grin on her face says it all.
Ready?
Go on, spit it out, Wes.
Welcome to the Mountain Bike Connection podcast. We have got Johnny from Motool. Welcome.
Welcome, John.
Welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Living the dream, one nightmare at a time.
Yeah, I hear that. That's the motto these days, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's a joke, but you know, it's funny.
Yeah,
people laugh.
Yeah, good. It's funny because it's true.
yeah. I'm crying inside.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for having me on, man. That's awesome, and I didn't get a lot of chance to check out a lot of the podcasts, but what I did, everything looks great, sounds great, and it looks like you guys are on the ball. So thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you along. I guess I found Motool through the Hook It system there, and kind of you go in and you apply, and it basically hooks into all your social media, evaluates your score, gives you a score, and you apply for programs. And that's where I found Motool probably 2 years ago, maybe.
I like it.
Yep,
I think so.
that
Yeah,
sounds
2020
right.
was the first year. Yep.
Yep.
And then I got the Slacker version 3, which is sat right there.
Yeah,
Still
you got
pristine in the box. Brand new condition. It's been used a few times.
So before we get any farther, now that we're actually recording, why don't you tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, even though we literally just got done talking to you about that.
That's why we shouldn't hit record.
Now that we're actually recording.
Well, no, because we need to be familiar with John before we introduce him to all the listeners. So
when you have deja vu now, John, that's because you've already said it.
She was right. She was right.
We love our job so much we do it twice.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
Just to be thorough.
I'm pretty easy to deal with. My name is Johnny Casebeer. It's just like a case of beer, my last name. So I roll, my number riding is 212 for 212 packs. And I grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and racing dirt bikes. And I did a little bit of mountain bike racing. That was a little bit like in my later teens and stuff. But as a kid, I always rode dirt bikes, raced motocross and desert racing. And then I graduated high school in 1986, and I quit racing. You know, his dad was funding all that, and I went to technical school. And so for the meantime, I went into IT, ended up running an IT business, became a network engineer by trade. And then in all my spare time, when I wasn't running my business, I did bands and I toured all over the United States, did like punk and hardcore bands. And for about 20 years, I did the band thing and then did IT managed services business. And then in 2010, our lead singer just went off the rails after 4 years and 3 albums and a bunch of tours. And my brother and I had just had it with the bands and touring and some of the drugs and crap that was going on. Like, we like to party and stuff, but it got over the top, you know, and I was 43 at the time. So I ended up, we just got out of the music deal and I needed something to do. So I got back into, I needed to get back into shape. And so the only thing I knew that was fun enough that I would do regularly was a 450. So I got a YZ 450F, and that thing just had they had reversed the cylinder on it in 2010, and it had a really bad weight bias. And I didn't know that. I hadn't ridden in 26 years. So I couldn't turn, and I got obsessed with bike setup, trying to figure out what was wrong with the bike. And I ended up moving the motor like 2.5 millimeters forward. Jeez. And that fixed it. But in the meantime, I became an expert at bike setup, invented this tool. And I had started this company within like a year and a half of getting back into motocross. So that's kind of the short story, where I started and how I got here. There's a lot of details in there that you probably don't want to know about.
Well, maybe not.
Absolutely.
You never know.
Some of us like details.
Yeah. No, but that's the gist of it. I consider myself a recovering IT person, and I'm writing software and stuff now, but it's nice because I'm writing it for my company. I don't have a CEO up my ass about his stupid email or why the thing's scrolling when he leans on the space bar and stuff,
Yeah.
Darren
all those
can relate.
human problems. Yeah, the software will do what I tell it if I can figure it out. The humans, you're never going to figure them out. Man.
No, that's an absolutely
That's
true
because
story.
humans
It's
are stupid.
complicated.
Yeah, humans are stupid
Humans
as a whole.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, they are ridiculous. And my friend Tracy always says, well, what are you? And I'm a human, man. I'm one of them. I'm
Yeah,
as dumb as
I'm not unincluding myself.
No, I mean, I'm right in the front. I'm the king of that stuff, man.
Exactly. Yeah, you look up dumb shit in the dictionary, and I'm right there. I'm the poster
Yeah,
boy.
you're up at the top of the list
Yeah,
with pride. you know?
exactly. Yeah, we wrote the books on that. Well, that's a good
No doubt.
introduction. That's you've had sounds like a good, fun life so far.
Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff. I actually have been all the way. I've even been an ostrich rancher. I was an ostrich rancher for 2 years, and I used to incubate baby ostriches and raise them and stuff.
Oh,
and,
you said literally ostrich rancher.
Yes.
Yeah.
love
That was a
this, man.
foreman.
I'm sitting
I
here
used
trying
to
to
have
think.
to-
I was like, what the hell
I
is
used to have
that?
to go out and grab them. Like the big ones are like about 400 pounds. They're huge.
They are
And they'd
huge.
come running down, and you'd have to jump up and grab them by the neck and pull their head down. And then they'd get all disoriented. You stuck a sock over their head, they would just mellow out. But until then, you've got a 400-pound bird by the neck that's just right there. It was a pretty interesting.
That can
Man. That was
absolutely
I
kick
was
the hell out of you.
That's a big.
Oh man, yeah, it was wild. It was, but if you knew what you're doing, you could handle them. But generally, it was a pretty interesting job. But that was in like 1990. I think 1990. It was a long ass time ago. Fortunately, my job duties have greatly improved.
Yeah.
Okay, but that is pretty awesome.
That's I've
seriously.
never heard that in my
I have
life.
like 10 million questions about raising ostriches. I raised homing pigeons, so I love birds. So I love
Yes.
this guy.
They're amazing. You know, people would always ask me like, "Oh, that's cool," but like, what do they taste like? And I was always like, "Man, I don't know. I would never eat one." They were like my friends, you know. I hung out with them every
It's like
day,
eating
but,
your pet.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, exactly. How did your dog taste? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Well, the chocolate lab
That is what
wasn't that great. He was pretty tough. But the German Shepherd was spot on.
Yeah, it's delicious. With
Okay,
some gravy.
so are they a cuddly animal? Like, how are they with human interaction?
I think they'd be
You're scowling
They're
at me.
I think they'd be
they're pretty dumb. If you think that humans are dumb, they're pretty.
Are they a little bit like teenage boys?
They're even dumber than teenage boys, honestly.
Aw.
They are just clueless, but they're pretty sweet for the most part, unless they're in breeding season. And then the males, they will just want to kill you. Like you can't get in the same pen with them or they will tear you up. Otherwise, they're pretty like goofy and dumb. And they love shiny stuff. If like we used to get them all the time with like nails and crap in their stomachs from this old ranch.
Yeah.
We'd have to go around with metal detectors and stuff because anything shiny, they would peck and try to eat it.
Sounds like
And so you'd end up, we had one with like a 6-inch, like a big railroad tie nail in his stomach one.
Oh my god.
I had to do surgery on it.
That looks delicious.
Oh my
I don't know how it tasted, but
Jeez.
so I know that's not at all related to anything about anything with wheels, but
I don't know.
It's where
I think riding ostriches could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
ah, man.
Well,
yeah, they were wild. So yeah, so that's kind of my background. And I live in Portland, Oregon right now. I lived the first 3.5 years in my brother's basement and just trying to get this business on its feet. I've got this massive 800 square foot apartment now where I do everything out of here. And then I'm actually talking to some potential business partners right now that approach me about scaling this thing up and doing something with it, because
awesome.
I'm maxed out. Everybody says it looks like a huge company, and I said it does, but it's one guy.
Jeez.
And I'm just maxed out right now, doing as much as I can and struggling, but I've made it for 9 years now, and I'm proud of that, and everything's good, and I'm real stoked on the new mountain bike stuff that I just put out. Like the last couple of years I had the little hex key axle inserts I haven't been that happy with. They work, but it's just clearly not a purpose-built solution for mountain bike guys. And I get it. The cowboys don't go to the punk rock shows and stuff, and motocross dudes and mountain bike guys aren't the same thing. And so I just needed something that was like purpose-built. And I was talking to my friend Brian that owns Slick Products, and he's got a super sweet Yeti. And he wanted to use it. And I was trying to explain those axle inserts, and it just sounded ridiculous. I was like, God, it's like, well, if you do this and you need a hex, and he's not a technical guy. He's a business owner that just wants to set his suspension up. And I felt ridiculous trying to explain it. So it inspired me to go back to the drawing board. And that's when I came up with that new universal mount that I just released. And I added that, where the app can now calculate the percentage of travel you're using. And I really focused and I got some good stuff that I'm actually happy with and proud to put my stamp on for mountain bike guys. The last couple of years, it was good enough, but it wasn't something I was running around hooting and hollering about, if you will.
Yeah. No, I've used the product, and we set Jeff and Alice up, a couple of our riding crew late last year. They got on a couple new rigs there, so we took some time.
Nice.
Just got them set up in the yard, did some tuning with them, and they were impressed with it. Jeff was very impressed with how it felt and how the bike responded afterwards.
Nice.
So
very good. Yeah, that's always good to hear. That's the key to me right there, is how it works for you, and like that it's actually a functional tool and that you enjoy it and it's benefit to you.
Yeah.
Because technically I understand it, but to hear that it actually benefits people is always good, man. And that it's something that you'd find some value in, Yeah. I know the mountain bike scene, a lot of people like, there's the O-rings, and I get it. It's easy. And it's like anything, that's the easy way to do it. But like Slacker's the right way to do it,
Yeah.
And with that universal mount now, you can do it with the air shock or a coil shock. Like a coil shock, you kind of don't have any choice but to use it.
Yeah.
And with the air shock, people get lazy, want to use the O-ring, but generally you've got over twice the travel where you're measuring with Slacker.
Yeah.
So you get a more granular measurement. You could do finer adjustments. And the O-ring, even with your best eyes at 53, I don't know about you guys, but I can't see shit. I look at that little O-ring and I can't see it. I couldn't tell you, I could be off a millimeter on the shock body, which would be a couple at the rear end or more. It's just such a fudging thing. And the fact that, if you just sit a little hard on the seat, you could bump that O-ring. It's easy, and it's static. It's not a real-time measurement where you can see if you're doing something screwy or something's really wrong,
Yeah. So I understand that in that you think about your leverage ratio between how much travel your bike has got in the frame and the rear wheel. It's measured at rear wheel travel, right? Yeah. And then you think about the stroke of your shock. So like the Trek Remedy's got 57.5 mil stroke. And you think about breaking that down into percentages and then think how much it increases with the leverage ratio at the back wheel. If you measure your sag at the back wheel, it's going to be a lot more accurate than trying to get it down using the O-ring on the actual shock. Yeah. And same with your fork.
I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, you'll see even in moto, some of the suspension guys, and they don't do this to really get you set, but when they rebuild your suspension, they'll measure the spring and they'll preload it back there and send it to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will preload it what they think should be right for your weight. And that's great. But man, to measure it at the shock, that little bit is millimeters at the rear end. So it's just so much more. And coming from moto, I was like, that's weird that they measure on the shock. Why would you do that? You know, that's weird. I get the O-ring, I get it all where it came from and stuff, but I look at things a lot differently. I like to see how the bike is balanced, like the Shock Whiz. To me, very cool piece of technology. It's some interesting gadget to me, but I don't want that box telling me what to do based on air pressures when I'm riding. I want to see how the bike sits in the real world. Is it sagged out in the back end? Is a fork dived out? How does it sit when I get on it and I'm going to go into a turn or something? And then I want to figure out my own damn clickers, and I want to figure out my own sag numbers. If I like 35 or 25% or 20, like I like figuring that stuff out and finding the right thing. Because if you take that thing's suggestion, it's probably the same thing as the O-ring. Good enough. It's probably great for a guy that doesn't want to deal with it, that's busy and isn't into that. But when you get even into the enduro stuff, especially enduro, I just think that you know, a few millimeters at the rear axle could be the difference that you're further into the stroke on the shock. So every time you're hitting chop and you're pedaling, you know, it's just that shock is that much stiffer because it's further into the stroke, you know, little things like that. So I'd rather play with it and learn it from the feedback and just see those numbers and know I like it, you know, with 28% in the rear looks great to me and it feels good. And I'd much rather do that than, you know, I just don't tend to listen to other people and devices. I'm pretty stubborn, old man.
But you like what you like.
When you get a new bike, your suspension, or you buy a new set of forks or a shock, you get your rider tables, right? So it tells you right on there, rider weight between this, set this amount of PSI, this amount of rebound. Sometimes it kind of feels better on the Fox than what it ever did on a RockShox. If I set the RockShox up with the rider tables, it just felt like trash.
I think I'm going to be excited to jump on the Quest this spring with a much better suspension setup and then put that on it and do some tuning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have a stump jumper right now. I haven't been into biking for a real long time, so I'm jumping from a base model stump jumper up to, the Quest I ordered is going to have a Fox 38 on the front and X2 on the back.
X2.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to play this and.
Oh man, it's everything. Bike setup for me is everything, especially as you get older. If it's not fun to ride and smooth and nice, like it's the difference, especially moto for me. It's the difference between getting like 10 laps in and 30 laps because I'll get tired. The bike will wear me out fast. You know?
That's it.
I hate that I'm getting old, but I am, and it'll wear me out, and I'll go home frustrated. You know, and feel like I can't ride and start self-deprecating. You know?
Exactly, and it's the same on a mountain bike, right? You're riding a trail and your suspension's not right, and you get it packing down. You spend more energy than what you would if it was set up properly.
Have you set your bike up yet?
Not the Quest, no. I haven't had enough riding time. I did the Trek, but I haven't done the Quest just yet.
Did the Cannondale either.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Jeez, what a guy.
I know, right?
We'll have to have
and Darren, do you have that new universal mount? I know we just recently had some back and forth, but have I, because I'll get you set up with one of those universal mounts if you don't have one already.
The V4 is on its way because the V4 is Bluetooth compatible.
Oh, that's right. That's okay. That's right. And we got you the universal mount and everything. Okay. Yeah. That's what I remember. I get so busy I can't remember, but I just want to make sure that you got it. Yeah, and I think you're gonna dig the app stuff. I spent about 8 days, about 10 hours a day on rebuilding just that little virtual remote, so it had the MTB code.
That's a nice little app, actually. I went through the service assistant earlier and removed all my old stuff.
Tight.
Yeah, and it's got a link right there to the virtual remote, so that'll be pretty good.
So are you gonna talk about that and explain it to the rest of us around the table?
Yeah, so in the box, as you were looking, for all our listeners who can't see, so there's a main slacker unit and then there's a little remote unit.
Hold on. That's the little guy.
So the little remote unit plugged in by cable, and you put that on your handlebars or wherever it was easy to see. And now the ability is that the main unit has Bluetooth, so you can use your phone. Just put your phone on.
So you don't need the little guy.
So you don't necessarily need that. And then you're not trying to hold a dozen things down because these axle inserts were very good, but every now and then it'd pop off.
Okay.
go flying.
The other thing that really sucked, the thing I liked about him is I had to work with a local machine shop in Portland, the small parts manufacturing. They're just cool dudes in a machine shop, local business. Like I'm down. I love that stuff. So I was there, but they were costing me $12 a piece because the hex key, I had to have it milled within 1,000th or it would wobble in the hex. Right? So, and then the tool out here would be really exaggerated. So that sucked, and they were $12, but I was like, I'll do it if it's a good tool for these guys, even though I'm not making money on it, you know? And, but the new setup's way better. I'm actually printing some right behind me right now. I don't know if you can hear that 3D printer somewhere.
Oh, nice. There. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I run that thing all the time and print shit out and test stuff. And then I'm printing some of the universal mounts out right now.
Cool.
So those actually get made right here in the apartment. I don't have to, and they don't cost me $12 either. I think they end up being like $5 or $6 by the end of the deal. So, and I'm stoked. Then I'll probably take them to manufacturing. I just wanted to get it out. I was excited about it. And I had a bunch of people stoked. I already had my distributor in Australia ordered them, and like Rocky Mountain ATV just ordered them. And
nice.
And the dealers weren't really ordering those axle inserts. I think they saw what I saw. Man, it's pretty complicated for what you're getting, and you know, good enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a good enough dude. That shit needs to be perfect. It needs to be tight.
Yeah, no, it worked pretty good. And like I said, the results are impressive. It definitely changed
I think you'll really like that. That universal mount, you need to take that initial measurement again, but it's really, it's so much more stable on the frame and everything. You can put it where you want. It'll also bring the tool forward a little bit. And that's nice because, it gets it from being so angled, it brings it a little more towards under the seat. And I just had a guy send me a picture of his stump jumper, and it literally being strapped on that rear frame like that on that stump jumper. It was the electric one. That slacker heads and goes directly at the seat post, at the seat rail where the clip goes. I mean, it's a little bit crooked. And at the end, I mean, it was probably 2 degrees off. And on a motorbike, it gets off a little bit because the axle rotates. And you just kind of, you know, it is what it is. But I was amazed at how that slacker just literally doesn't do this because of the way that the linkage is on those mountain bikes is crazy and genius. I love that stuff. I love getting into those linkages, but the way that travels, the overall swing arm doesn't swing, it goes up. So it's pretty cool. So it worked out better than I even knew that it did, honestly.
Can I just say,
that's rare.
I'm still honestly in awe at the fact that you do it all in your apartment, all by yourself.
That's pretty amazing.
Like,
my family says that all the time, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It's not as impressive from inside of this thing right here. It's all fairly terrifying and overwhelming.
Do you sleep?
No, not much, honestly. Not a lot. I'll work till 4 a.m, and then the next day I'll be up at 4 a.m. Like, jeez. I just go when my brain says go. Like if I'm really into something, adding a feature or rolling something out, coming up with a new product, like I just get really excited about it. And my brain gets going and I can't stop, and I go to bed, especially with programming. I'll have a problem to solve and I can't turn it off. So I lay in bed thinking about it, and I'll wake up and go in and start programming, you know? So I don't sleep much, but honestly, it's fun. It fits my style. I tend to kind of ride it till the wheels come off and then try to figure it out, you know? So I'm kind of at the point with this thing where after 9 years, the wheels are coming off a little bit, not in a bad way, but it's just growing up and it's got to go to another place here. Apparently I think this is going to be a big year of change for me on this thing, but I enjoy it overall. I love it. And it's what I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. The reason I don't work for other companies is I don't want to, you know. I pretty much do whatever I want to do, so that's why I'm doing this.
That's good. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
No, it's a good product, and I definitely think more people should take the time to think about their setup.
Well, and you don't know, right? Like I never would have ever.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's just it.
And there's so many people that will go, like you said, buy a bike. And to a certain extent, expect it to come out of a shop ready to ride. Like, nobody, like, I would never sit and. What?
Into the microphone.
You're fading away
I'm
from the mic.
loud enough that I'm sure everybody
You're
can
absolutely
hear me.
loud enough.
Thank you. My husband he's got a little bit of PMS today, I think, so he's being a little bit opinionated. So, well, even Kate just bought a new bike, right? Like she would never know, and and it's the group that will probably help her, but she doesn't know that she needs to look at that suspension, look at how much is in it, and fix it for her, right?
I agree. And the bike shops are terrible, especially like motorcycles. Those guys will sell you, same price, $10,000. Bikes are no cheaper these days, but they'll shove you out the door and never even tell you that. And if you're a little heavier in it, it's never adjusted right, ever. In fact, they don't even grease the linkage and stuff. Sometimes I'll have to rip the shock out and grease stuff and run through the axles. And so I think it's kind of lame, and it's something that people just aren't aware of. And if you make it easy for them, they'll do it. And once you see it, it's genius. Like when I invented this tool, like I had a working prototype of it, but I didn't really have a system yet. I had a thing that would take measurements by like, where do you put it on the bike? Where do you take the measurement to get the number like that, say Suzuki wants? Mm-hmm. So I had a Suzuki, and I found out one day, the factory would measure from the end of the swing arm to like the back of the seat bolt, which is really a weird thing to measure to because it doesn't have a good place to measure to. It's a crappy reference, and it's awkward to measure that way with a tape measure even, but that's the way they do it. So when I was originally measuring vertically, because the original prototype, it was just a bar hanging from a string that went up and down through a box. So it was vertical, right? And then I got it working with the retractable cable. And one day I was like, man, my number does not line up with Suzuki. Mine says 105. And if I measure with a tape measure, it's like 98. And that's just not good. I'm going to get eaten alive when this thing hits the reviews. They're going to go, it sucks. It's not the right number. It's a placebo. And the reason I invented it was because I used a tool that was exactly that pissed me off. So I was like, man, it can't do that. So I was riding one day, and I talked to this welder dude, and he says, if you want to know where maybe you want to measure across the arc of the axle, because that's kind of where that seat bolt is. And he said, just take a piece of string and stretch it out from the swing arm pivot to the rear axle and swing it up, and that'll show you. So I did, and I just hooked the clip on the side plate. Seemed weird, and then slacker was at an angle. Seemed weird, right? And then took a measurement. It was 98, and I should be at 105. So loosened the spring. Seemed really weird, man, to be loosening the spring up, right? It's not going to turn good now. This is going to suck. And man, my bike was 100% better. The whole chassis calmed down. I was running the spring too tight, so it was stink bug, and it was unstable at speed, and it would knife in the turns. It would knife in instead of taking the rut. And when you came out, it was really harsh in that in the chop coming out in the acceleration bumps. All that went away, and that bike was just like day and night. And that was the day that I saw it and knew what a big difference bike setup was. And it was the key to that tool. And I think anybody that rides, when you have that day, you'll never go back, man. The minute you hop on that bike and it sucks, you just probably won't ride it if you can't. If you don't have the way to get it set up, you probably just stick it in the corner. It's like playing a guitar that's not tuned, like literally. It's going to sound like shit. You're going to hate playing it. And everybody's going to laugh at you. It's kind of that kind of a deal.
So for someone like me that's never done any tuning on my mountain bike, I admittedly just jumped on, O-ring, set the sag, away we go, and drive it. So this could be a real eye-opener this spring when I get to actually go through and tune my new bike.
And good
like this.
for you for at least doing that basics. You know what I mean? At least you're doing that. As long, and I don't have any problem with the good enough deal. It isn't my deal, but if you want more out of it, man, it's way worth digging in there and just learning it. Yeah. And playing with your clickers and playing with the sag and seeing how it turns and does, and just, have fun. I enjoy that stuff. I like tinkering. So it's a natural thing for me. There's other people, that's the last thing they want to do, man. That's the last step.
Like that. I like to misery. Mess around with shit too.
I think the general misconception is that this kind of stuff is for people who race, right? Because telemetry, that's really what we're dealing with here is data around your setup is telemetry. Yeah. That's typically something race teams will deal with, but they think that just going out riding, it's not important, but it really
at
is.
the end of the day, though,
your
there's
setup.
probably a lot of people. I'm not racing races, but every time I ride, I'm racing.
You're racing yourself.
I'm racing myself. So
and it's not about getting super nerdy about the data. It's about making that ride more comfortable, more responsive, and just getting your money's worth
just
out
feeling
what
good.
What out of your equipment.
Yeah.
And it's not about being the super badass fast guy, because everybody thinks that I must be some super moto dude. And I'm like, no, I'm a lazy old man, and I just don't like a bad bike setup. I mean, straight up, I don't ride with, like, when it's over 95 degrees. I mean, I got some boundaries these days, and that's one of them.
95 degrees. If it was 95 degrees here on the East Coast, the humidity, like, we would literally be a puddle of shit on the ground.
I think it was 95 that day we went to Woolastock, right?
Oh, man.
It was about that, and it just about killed me.
The humidity here is insane.
It went, in Portland, Oregon, we had a record this summer. It went to 116 degrees, man. I'm literally a half a mile from the Columbia River. Like, it's fucking northwest at 116 in downtown Portland. It was unbelievable, man. Yeah.
Gone.
With that, I definitely don't ride. I hope I could drop an F-bomb there. I do not ride over 95, man.
That's not the first time there's been an F-bomb dropped on this podcast.
I'm trying to be better these days. I drop too many. Even with my mom, I'm like, I should probably cut that down.
Oh, man.
It's usually Laurie we have to control.
Yeah, right. These two here, they come over from Britain. I know they sailed over on a pirate ship. They swear like nobody I've ever heard.
I support Lori in her cussing adventures.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Express yourself.
I gotta, I'm a little bit, like, I don't want to say disappointed with bike shops, because that's probably the wrong word, but I can't think of a more appropriate word. Like, would this not be a selling point, right? Like, if I'm going, yes, I want to get into biking, I'm going to go to a store, I'm going to buy a bike. If somebody spent the time and had a tool like this and made sure that that bike was perfect for me, like, would that not be a selling point?
It should be.
It absolutely really should be. Yeah.
I'm so surprised that
because part of your sales process is your pre-delivery inspection, right? Yeah. So you're checking brakes, everything, making sure everything's put together on the bike right. Something you're not checking is the suspension.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's individual to a rider, but going out of that store,
it's important for the rider because you get the bike set up right and you learn the proper technique.
Exactly.
But it's also important for, as a business guy, it drives me crazy because it's like, how can you do that? Like selling beds without seats or tires, like cars without tires and shit. Like, it's part of the deal. And like, to me, if I went into a shop and I'd been buying motorcycles since 1979, and I went in and this one guy said, well, wait, let's get you set up. Here's this tool, and got me set up, man, you're a little big these days. You need some new springs. Let's get the right springs on it. Yeah. Right? They could sell some springs and some fluids and service and make a little extra money. Yeah. If I could be dialed, and I'm not going anywhere else. That guy is the shit. Exactly. I went in there, I'd be pissed at everybody else that had ever sold me a bike, honestly, because I go, why didn't anybody ever tell me that? You know? Yeah. Exactly. So I think that it's a weird, I don't understand it, honestly, but I share that same thing. I'm always harping on that. Why wouldn't you do that when the guy just spent $10,000, even just to be nice and say thank you?
Yeah. Well, and when you
much less to get them to come back.
Well, and when you think that the amount that people pay on the suspension, right? Like, I'm just thinking of the forks. I'm not looking at you because you'll get all but I'm just thinking the amount of expense there is in them forks, right? That you've got. And if you're going to a shop, like, I wouldn't have a sweet ass clue what my suspension's supposed to be set at. But if I'm buying a bike, and like you said, if I'm spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, I want them to sit and spend 10 minutes with me to make sure the suspension is set up to me. Like, it's just
for sure
like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think it's kind of a rip-off, and you should be disappointed. Like, it just seems like they're missing the mark there because it's such an important thing for you to it just makes so much sense to even just say, hey, would you like me to do that? Or do you know you need to do this? And you'd say, I didn't know I need to do that. And then they could tell you, and then at least you'd be aware. But so many people just don't even know. Motorcycles, it's even worse. They don't even know that they literally just get on them and ride them. They just don't even adjust the preload clickers, none of that. And it's just insane to me. Like I've like made a lot of people religious. All I got to do is make a measurement, make an adjustment, and say, try that out. And they're done with the no adjusting world. You know, they're like, oh, I see it now. I had a guy down at Milestone MX in California before they closed down. And this guy was a vet novice, 40 plus novice. And he won the first moto, just no problem, you know? And then he came back and we were explaining, setting his stag, and he's like, I've never done that. And we said, well, let's check it. So his bike was at 128 millimeters and he should be at 105. Jeez. So I was like, oh man. So we tightened up the spring. He had these super bald tires and shit. And we're like, man, what a piece of crap. But he went out for the second moto, and this is 40 plus novice. This is not, Cooper Webb or any of these guys. This is an old man like me. And he was 7 seconds a lap faster. And he came back, his eyes were this big. He was all, man, it's like I got brand new tires on that thing. I just lay it over and put my foot out and that thing just goes. And I was like, exactly. And so he was sold, you know, and I see that all the time. When you have that moment, when you figure out what that bike setup really actually means to you, when your brain can see it, it's like, you may not know the oven's hot until you touch it, but then after that, you know it. And it's the same thing.
People get on this and they take the suspension for granted, but what they don't realize is that suspension is a huge part of how much grip you have on the trail, be it moto or mountain bike.
For sure.
So that I just had an epiphany.
Oh.
Laurie, that is why we're slow. We need to adjust our suspension, and we need to get in there 7 seconds. That's it. That's what we're...
So you think about what it does is it's not actually just keeping you up and comfortable on this cushy mush of air. It's actually pushing the tires back against the ground, right? So it's improving your grip all around.
I wouldn't know because, my husband wouldn't set my bike up for me.
Yeah, sure. We have done this. I know for sure we've done this.
We haven't.
Because I've made you stand on the bike while I've been holding it.
No, you have.
Not with this particularly.
Oh, so you just eyeballed it with me.
He's waiting for the V4. He's gonna get set up
John.
He eyeballed it, John. He didn't use your tool.
No, he told me he was ordering the V4 specifically to get your bike dialed in for you.
Bullshit.
For Valentine's Day.
Bullshit.
You know the old saying, bros before.
Wow.
No, he didn't say any of that shit. But he won't have it. And he won't have any excuses anymore.
I think you make a good point, though, that if we were to go to the bike shops, how many would actually know, have the knowledge of this?
I honestly... You know what we should do?
Yes.
You know what?
Secret shopper.
We should be a secret shopper.
That would be awesome.
Go around to these 17-year-olds in these and ask them what suspension should be set for my body and weight and type, and see if they actually know the answer.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say probably a lot don't, because for the most part, a lot of them are just retail, right? So they're not serious. I mean, when you get into your serious tech and you get your full-time mechanics there, yeah, sure, I expect them to kind of know their shit and
people with
shop
like a racing background, like Adam.
I could go to Adam and sure as shit say I need some help with my suspension, and he'd be right there knowing exactly what he's doing. But he's got an
extensive racing background.
Exactly,
He knows the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be the front of the house, back of the house. The sales guys don't get it and don't give a shit. And the service guys don't want to come out and deal with customers, right? They're like, fuck it, leave me alone. I'm servicing. I don't want to deal with the public. That's why I work back here,
So this is a good opportunity for the independent bike mechanics.
Right?
Yeah. The one-stop shop, man.
There should be at least one person within a store that should be able to tell me what my suspension should be set at.
Or they should have Darren's business card to send them this way to get their bike to.
Or like someone like Josh Tibb with a VeloFix.
Yeah. Some way to, I'm not expecting everyone to know everything about everything, even though I did know.
Well, but if you're going to be in a trade or do something, you need to know some basic shit. Like I could interview somebody about what I do, and I don't need a resume. I could tell if you knew what you're talking about just from 3 questions, So,
exactly.
But a lot of it too, it's so complicated when you get into the business end though too, because a lot of those guys aren't getting paid much and they just want to drink beer and chase girls and ride their mountain bikes and shit. Yep. So there's just so much going on. But as a business owner as a rider standpoint, it's kind of bullshit. You're kind of getting gypped off, if you will. That's probably not the right thing to say, but I think that as a business owner, it's just a ridiculous opportunity to miss, to not make your brand more premium and more desired, like have people be more loyal and like your brand and have a favorable view of your brand and always think, oh yeah, well, you got that. Well, have you ever done that? No. Well, man, I bought my bike and this guy showed me and now I always do that.
Yeah.
I think it adds so much value to the business more than just selling a product.
Yeah.
Because everybody can sell products, man. That's just a thing,
There's guys out there with air shocks that don't own a shock pump.
A lot.
Surprising.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. And a lot of them will just pump it on up as whatever and go to town, they don't, a lot of people just don't. And that's fine. I get it. In fact, coming from motocross, there's a lot of know-nothing guys in moto that they don't care. They don't care if they want it to be crappy. They don't want to know anything. And I get it, but this is not their product or company.
Yeah. This is for the people that want to go in depth and nerd out on it. Like we all like.
Yeah, well, people that give a shit. Like I came up with that tagline, work smart, play hard. Cause I was like, oh, why work all hard?
Yeah.
And play hard, work smart, and get the shit done with the right tools and get out and rip, man.
Well, that's it. I mean, you go and you're spending $6, $7, well, let's be frank, up to $10,000 on a new mountain bike, sometimes maybe more. You want the most out of your suspension, and if you're not taking the time to kind of figure around with this thing and figure out what your numbers actually are, get it set right, you're just, why are you even buying it? Really?
Yeah, and
that suspension's a huge part of it. You're paying for it.
And if you ride with other people will know that. It's kind of like the interview, knowing if people know their deal. People will see it all over you. If you're just the guy that shows up on Sunday with the $9,000 bike and all the fancy gear and you don't know shit, it isn't set up right.
It looks like a mountain biker.
Will know it. You'll be that guy and everybody will know it, and you just don't want to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
I live to not be that guy.
Same here. I want to be the guy that doesn't look like he could do.
We have a term for those in the military. They're all the gear and no idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not me.
No.
If I'm gonna have the gear, I'm gonna know how it works.
Exactly. That's me too. I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah, so I've got to say, the most impressive thing about that is the strength of that bloody magnet on the back.
Oh, yeah.
I got the axle insert and I can't get the bugger out. Yeah.
The other thing you like about that universal mount is that it's way easier to get off. It's just like, it's just got that little mount, like that little washer mounted on there. So like it sticks good to it, but not crazy because it doesn't have the thickness of steel because the backing is just plastic on it.
Yeah.
So it's much easier. I hated that too because you really had to kind of grab it and it got try to get a screwdriver under it. But
you're going to be a Russian shot putter to get that off.
I wish I could get rid of that magnet. That little thing is expensive, honestly, but it's kind of the key to keeping it universal. I like things to work on everything, and it's usually impossible to accomplish, but I do my best.
No, they're really good quality units. I'm super impressed with them.
I'm glad, and thanks for your support, man. Like I wouldn't have moved up into my huge 800 square foot apartment without people like you supporting me, man.
Like I literally,
that living in my brother's basement sucked. I ended up even having to do a bunch of 1099 work and shit. Like I got all kinds of stories from those days too, man. That was it was a rough ride. It's not like a finished basement. It's like a basement with a boiler in it. Basement.
you were living in the broom closet.
John,
dungeon kind of deal.
John, what's 1099 work?
Oh, it's just like independent contractor work. I would go out and like in 2017, I had I was sourcing my product through a company in New York, and they were getting it from my factory in China, right? Well, this guy told me, it's kind of a long story, but basically I sent him $31,000 to pay off the order to get it released in China, and he took it and disappeared.
What a
And I went, holy shit. So I'm trying to figure out where this guy went, and it's coming clear the guy disappeared. And luckily the factory ended up getting a hold of me and was like, hey, we haven't got paid. So I ended up paying him like 10 grand to get the product released, and then he let me pay him off. And the dude is one of my best friends now, this guy in China that runs the factory. Wow. He's an awesome guy. It's actually one of the best things that ever happened to my business was this event. But in the meantime, like I lost that guy just kind of ripped off my money and left me stuck. So I had to fill that hole. So I went out and started doing these, ripping out McDonald's networks and redoing their wireless and computer rack and all that shit. You know, the computer switches, the switches and the wireless. And then for this new system for AT&T. So I could make like $600 or $700 in about 6 or 7 hours in the middle of the night. Go in and gut that thing, rip it, test it, and leave. So that next year I did 18,000 miles just between Washington State and Oregon.
Jeez.
I did 18,000 miles. I did 80 McDonald's. I gutted. If you to go to a McDonald's in the Pacific Northwest, I probably did their network.
Wow.
And but I made 65 grand that year doing that shit while I was doing this shit.
Oh my God.
You really don't.
Yeah, so it's been a wild ride, and that's when I was living in that shitty basement, and I just thought I was never going to get anywhere. So life has improved, you know, as bad as it seems some days and as hairy as it gets. I'm always like, shit. And then like last year I had actually the next big thing event I had was last year in November. I actually ended up losing a whole entire shipment of slackers, 2,000 of them.
Oh,
yeah,
shit balls.
70 grand to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. They had this, it's the largest maritime cargo loss ever, where they didn't lose the actual boat. They lost 1,800 of those 40-foot containers, 13 miles long.
I think I saw that. It was
unfucking believable, man. Yeah. So just clean me out. So I've spent the last year struggling again and fighting.
Is there no insurance on anything, on things like that? Or
like that one, I got screwed because the agent that booked it wanted to save me $158. So we're actually going through a claim process now, but the boat stalled it out, the boat owners, and there's so many parties involved, right? There was, I mean, it was like a $600 million loss, and they carry 14,000 of those containers on one. So there's so many shipping companies. Shit, it's so complicated that they just started the investigation, the private investigation, to start the claim on it.
Wow.
You know, so, but fortunately this time I haven't had to go back to 1099 work. I've just gutted it out. You know, I didn't have an option that last time, but yeah, I've had a couple events like that. Portland's been a pretty rough ride the last 5 years, man. But it's like anything. If you want to get to the top of the mountain and your feet are falling off, you know, if you got to cut them off to keep climbing, so be it.
That's incredible.
I'm like all in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just what you got to do. It's just a survival thing. It's like if a bear is chewing on your ass, just respond. And that's kind of the way that this business has been run since the beginning. The bear's been chewing my ass and I've been trying to get away from it. I think I actually have a great opportunity to get away from it. I've actually got a great partner opportunity with some like big top of the moto industry names and stuff. But
awesome.
I gotta see how it goes if they want to deal with me.
I don't see why not.
Maybe they'll help shoot the bear that's been chewing your ass.
Just tell them about the ostrich.
I'm a pretty weird dude in motocross. I can tell you that. When I show up, they're probably like, "Oh, Antifa's here, man." I just don't fit into that shit at all, man. I'm pretty funny. I'm like zero logos, tattooed weird metalhead guy, and so I'm kind of a handful for some of those guys, and a lot of them they're pretty stoked, like, oh, thank God. It's another weirdo in the scene, you know. So
well, you definitely fit in over here in the East Coast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I could tell right away that I fit in with you guys. Like I could be sitting here having a beer right now and it would just work. I could
sweetie,
tell.
You wouldn't want to because
that's what I'm into.
It's butt fuck cold up here.
Oh, it's freezing. Well, today's actually not been too bad. It's only like -4 Celsius, but last week we've had -30 something Celsius.
Yesterday morning was -34 Celsius. It was so
So that's about the same Fahrenheit.
My little English Rose ass wanted to go back to England briefly.
Well, in the summer, then it would be nice. So you could hang out and have a beer and ride some bikes or something, man. That would work.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's good. You guys are laid back. Some of these things I never know what I'm getting into, man.
Oh, we're the finest collection of weirdos you ever did see.
I am very surprised.
I like it. Just some people are stiff, you know. I'm not a very stiff person.
No,
I start rolling it by the end. I'm like, I wonder if those people just thought I was ridiculous or what.
But I've found a lot of people stiff like that too.
Yeah, but you listen to some podcasts out there and they are so friggin' monotonous and they just drone on about this super expensive gear that, well, let's be frank, no fucker can afford. I sure as shit can't drop that kind of money on that kind of gear, you know. 99% of normal people are, really. People are these days are just biking on a budget as best they can. Yeah. And it's just way out there.
Yeah,
so if we put something together that's a little bit looser and more fun.
They try to pitch stuff, I think, too. Like for me, I'm not much of a sales guy. That's why I haven't been pushing those axle inserts. I don't try to sell shit unless I think that it's something that you need, you know? So I think a lot of those guys too. And that's what I get it. That's what the business expects. If the Alpine Stars dude comes on, he wants you to talk about the new boots and shit.
Yeah.
But it's just not my style. I try to do like this business is just about making shit easier for people and making their life a little bit better. Not like in that I'm going to get them out of poverty or something, but just that their bike will ride a little bit better. That's good enough for me at the end of the day. Sometimes, you know, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And as long as the tool's helping guys like you, then I'm super stoked on it, man.
Help keep the rubber side down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that thing dialed, man.
It works really well, and you can keep all your settings in the app on your phone as well. No need.
Yeah, in the app you don't really even need Slacker. The app you can use and just type in that your sag settings and all that, but you can put in all your clickers and all that sag settings. I'm going to add in tokens for the shock and fork, and then
that'd be good.
Tire inserts for like the Cush core stuff and all that. Very cool. I've got some stuff I'm going to add in the next couple of weeks to it. I just rebuilt the whole app and got it running on my Macintosh computer and on the web.
Nice.
And I'm pretty, but it was major. It took me like, I had to go deep and gut the whole app and rebuild a whole part of it to get it to do it. So I just did a major release 2 days ago, and then I updated it last night. I just put out a new release. Probably today it's probably out, and of that with the virtual remote and all that. But I need to add some more of the fields and stuff where you can keep your notes. But otherwise, like it's I'm real happy with that virtual remote and the way that came up with. And then eventually I got to get through some other products, but eventually I'm going to have a purpose-built tool that you can actually strap on an air shock, and it'll measure in like tenths of millimeters, and we'll do what Slacker's doing at the shock, you know. And then I have another product I'm working on that's a little bleeder product, and I'm working on a patent, so I can't say a ton about it, but basically it will work with Slacker and work with that tool, and you'll be able to attach it to your shock and pump it up, and then that thing you'll be able to say I want it at 33% on the app, and then it'll bleed that shock down until you're at 33 and cut it off. So it'll automatically set your sag on your forks and shock.
That's awesome.
And, so I've got some better mountain bike stuff coming, and I admit my shortcomings with those shitty axle inserts.
Hey, they work pretty good. I've got no complaints.
I'm genuinely stoked on the universal mount. I'm stoked. Like I'm bugging my friend Kevin that owns Evil Bikes because they use them for their demo tours.
Yeah.
So I'm bugging him to get him, hopefully start maybe working with Bubba Warren and get some shit flying like I do with motocross and street racing and stuff. I'll be honest, I've been a little embarrassed about those axle inserts just because they're not as good as I knew they could be. Not that they suck. that's my whole life. My family's like, "Oh, you're doing great," and I'm always like, "Yeah, but you got to understand." I see the turds and I admit them when they're turds, and that one was like good enough kind of a deal. But I'm picky, and I feel like that between the new app additives, the additions to the app, and then that universal mount, and even that little seat rail clip, I was pretty pleased with. I rubberized the inside of it, so when you stick it on, it just pops onto the seat rail and sticks, and it feels like a magnet.
Nice.
It's real weird. Yeah, I just correct, and it's just on there, and you can just pop it off of there. So it's a nice little system, and for $20 for the kit, it's like I'm happy with it. I'm finally happy with the mountain bike stuff, and then stoked to add some other products. That air bleeder product will come out before the mountain bike shock tool, and that will work with Slacker. So you'll be able to use it as part of this system, that you're getting with the V4. And then, the app will just control that. And it basically will just base it on whatever measurement Slacker's giving it, and it'll bleed you down to your sag,
That's awesome. I'm super stoked for that.
I like it.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to let you know if he does it when he gets his new one. I'll shoot you a message and tell you whether it's actually done mine.
Yeah, you're on the hot spot now. You're on the hot seat, buddy.
Right?
Well, I saw the Midland Purelator truck go down by earlier. I was like, "Oh, is it here?" And then he kept on going. I was like, "No, not today."
he'll crash this.
With the Slacker, it's one of those things that once you got it, then you got no excuses,
Yeah.
So where can people, speaking of that, where can people get it? Is it on just your website, or are you in stores, online stores?
Yeah, I've got it mostly online. Like you can get it on our website at motool.co, just motool.co. And if you guys call me or email me, I get you discount codes. I just can't put them up because my dealers and stuff.
Yeah.
And other than that, available, online, Amazon, all that BS. I'm working on some of that, trimming some of that down. But brick and mortar, I just don't have a lot of presence. I don't have the time to work all those dealer relations and all that.
That's a whole job in itself.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. So, but generally, if you get it off the website, I can get you a break on it. And what you'll get with that, if you get the MTB bundle, it's that universal mount with the Slacker V4. So you're really just getting the Slacker V4 and a free universal mount. So you get the full Slacker package that works on your dirt bike and all that stuff too. And then that way it's the same price. If you're a mountain bike guy, you're not paying an extra $20 for that little hoo-ha thingy, and then they're $20 on the side if you've got the inserts and just wanted to move over to the deal. But I'm always happy to try to help people out. I know it gets expensive and stuff. So, especially the sponsorships, we're on Hook It. We can do 50% on there. But beyond that, if you just email me or call me, I give people discounts all the time. Just don't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
We'll not tell the listeners.
We'll bleep this out.
No, but I mean, it would be good to see these in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
I agree. I hope in this new partnership that is going to be something that one of the guys that I'm working with already has all those relations built and knows the marketing side. And that's where I just suck. There's places in this business, I'll tell you, it's like I'm good at product development and, like software development and all these things and photography, graphic design, video, all this stuff. But that marketing and that side of things and dealer relations, I just suck at. So I'm hoping I actually could do this. It's something I think I'm just at the point that the business needs it,
Yeah.
You need some more bodies beside you. You can't do everything yourself.
Yep.
I can't, unfortunately. And I don't want to really. I kind of don't want to learn some of the business management side. I want to make cool shit. Go to the races and hang out, get to see my pro riders and hang out, watch some people riding, and ride myself, get out and ride my bike, And with the nice thing with product development is then I get to get out and ride my bike to try this stuff out. I'm working on a little Bluetooth altimeter for dirt bikes and it's to test it. I have to go ride my dirt bike. So, I don't mind that at all, man.
Yeah, that's what you need to do instead of schmoozing.
It's a great job.
There's never a bad day in the office if that's your gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sucks when every other duty is your duty too. If that was your only job, it would be amazing, but unfortunately you got to do all the other bullshit. So, product sourcing all the stuff and shipping and logistics and crap. And that's been a nightmare. I lost that container and then spent all year trying to get stuff here through the shipping disaster and all that shit in the Suez Canal. And then the chip shortages hit me. The material, like the raw materials shortages hit me. That shipping shit hit me. I couldn't get, and I fought all year to get through that, to get caught back up on stock because I was out of stock for 2 months. And at the end of the year, like sales slowed down and now I have too much stock. So this COVID shit's just been like, you know, you don't know if you're coming or going any day. And if you get up and you got your arms and legs and nobody's evicted you, then it's good enough. Let's do this, man.
Well, we'll try to get rid of some of that stock over here on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I'm always stoked to help out. And I do feel like it's a great product. And I mean, Evil Bikes uses them. Kevin, he's a great guy. He was so stoked on it. And he's got the V3s. And I'm stoked to get him the V4 with this new, with the new mounts and the new app. And I think he's going to love it. Yeah. I had told him about the app stuff I wanted to do like 2 years ago. So hopefully he doesn't think I'm a flake that it took me 2 years to do it. But I actually literally had to learn how to write software to do it. Wow. So it took me a little while. Yeah, it took. I wrote everything in native Swift and Kotlin, which is Apple and Android, the native language, because you know, it needed to be native, have native functions, access to Bluetooth. It just had to be. But I found a new tool that lets me build them both in one place. And now I can do iOS, Android. I already just added web and Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. Nice. I can roll that out. Other than the Bluetooth gets complicated once you get off of a Android or iOS type of a deal. But I started with that tool in April, rebuilt the entire app. So I learned a bunch because I already had done it. And then it's an amazing tool. It blows me away. I can go in and just crank something in there. And all of a sudden that feature works on all those platforms like that. It's made by Google. It's called Flutter and it runs it's the first time that Google's ever let anybody use their own code, Dart. And so it's Dart code run by SDK Flutter. And then that thing builds that shit and builds the Xcode and builds in native. So I'm still building in a native code, but it builds it for me instead of me building and building. Yeah. Been amazing. And my app is just badass now. Like, not to brag, but I'm super stoked on it. It's super snappy. It looks good. It works good. It does all the shit I want. And every time I get hung up on something and I'm like, man, this is so complicated. I'm overcomplicating it. And I find I actually need to take some code out and it'll do, like I had these little asynchronous commands in it. And if you were offline and you went to go to a page, it would sit there and wait because the page wasn't coming up. And it would just act really weird. And I found if I took that little thing out and didn't tell it to wait for it to do something, that you can just disconnect from the internet and write data all day long. You can save settings and write bikes in there and shit all day with no internet. It works great. And then when you connect to the internet, it all syncs up to the cloud, man. Nice. And it was just because I was overcomplicating it and trying to prevent it from being an issue if you were disconnected from the internet, and I was overthinking it. So every time I think that it's complicated, I actually have to unthink it a little bit, which is refreshing.
I feel your
most shit that I touch gets really complicated and painful real fast. Like,
I'm a very simple man, and this shit is so over my head.
No, I don't relate to Johnny there. I overthink everything.
Pardon the drool coming out of my mouth. I'm just trying to take it all in. And it's like,
I hope, honestly, for your sake, I hope that you didn't get any of that shit. I hope you wake up tomorrow like that. Just forget this whole fucking conversation.
That whistled right through.
I understood that.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I gotta say, John, like, is there anything that you haven't done?
He's amazing.
You're a smart dude. I'll say it. You're a smart guy. Like, some people are really smart. Some people are built to work with their hands.
No, I get it. I already envy. Like, sometimes my brain drives me crazy sometimes. It goes and goes and goes. Like, my dad was actually an ophthalmologist. And so he did eye surgery and stuff. He was a way more of an official guy, but he was still pretty goofy, funny dude for a doctor, you know. But he's actually the guy that invented radial keratotomy, like the eye surgery to correct your vision in the 90s. That nowadays they do LASIK and shit. But he's the one that actually developed all the nomograms and developed how deep you do the cuts and how you do that procedure, and then taught all the American doctors how to do it. And he's the one that pioneered that procedure. Wow. So I just have, and he was he's like a complicated guy. We had a really not a great relationship necessarily, but I got a lot of that same brain, which is just real complicated and focused, and like I don't know, it's a weird thing, and I tend to go on both sides. Like I can do music and I can do technical, but I don't really know many people that go on both sides of that with me. I don't like either on one side or the other. So
Lori's family's like that. But, your family's musical and super smart. Yeah. My family's physical.
What happened to me?
Well, you're musical. And you're smarter than me.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of I think I've just always done my own shit. I told my mom a couple weeks ago, I said, like, I'll call my dad by his full name, Charles Casebeer. I said, by the time I was 11, I knew I didn't want to be Charles Casebeer. Because it was all his stiff dick lawyer friends and shit, and I just didn't like that shit. And then he ended up leaving anyway. My parents got divorced around that time. That didn't bode well with me either. And he was like a womanizer and some shit. So I knew that how I didn't want to be. And my dad had a funny saying, and it's funny because I apply it to him all the time now, and he'd always tell us, he said, now kids, nobody's worthless. You can always serve as a bad example. And that's pretty much was his role in my life. Honestly.
So at the end of the day, you wanted to drink beer, not sip scotch.
Yeah, and I just think that I don't know, it's a funny thing, but I think I'm kind of smart, but I'm also more than anything, I'm real stubborn. And like a lot of the stuff that I learned, if you were here, you'd see me fail 99 times and then get it right once.
Man, the key to success is failure and learning from it.
Yeah, and sometimes I think from people that don't see that at the end of the week, they just see the thing I didn't happen. They're, oh man, that's amazing, But if they would have seen the 99 failures, they'd probably get it. A lot of it's just more grit and grinding it out than it is being very smart at all. In fact, you could really debate the smart part of that, because I'm also the guy that's dug this hole and living in basements and thrashing around through McDonald's and shit. So it's debatable how smart I am. Honestly.
Yeah, but it's some smart. Look at the money you made just working those night jobs. Like that's like
it went back into the business, and I don't have shit, but it's good. It got me here. Yes. And that's. As long as you keep going, it's like, what is that? The damn the torpedoes,
Yeah.
We're like full steam ahead, man. We're going to do this, and until this thing sinks, I'm doing it, and I'm hoping that I can blow it up. I'm not a big business dude, but I also would like it to become a actual company, with people, and where you show up to work at 8 and actually can provide some jobs and some benefits for people and do something for somebody else. Because the last 8 years I've spent my entire life just trying to save myself, and at a point you start feeling kind of shitty, like, well, I'd like to save my family and other people and dogs or anything. It seems start feeling kind of selfish at a point. It's a good thing I don't have a family. They would have left me years ago,
Well, you definitely have a solid product. So that's always the first step.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm really excited for what 22 is going to bring. I feel like you're just going to have to keep us on your journey and let us know. Keep us updated with what happens.
Oh, well, I'm so excited. I wish I could tell you who my potential business partner is. It's like, I'm shitting my pants.
Well, hit us up when it drops.
Oh, yeah.
It's like above. I mean, just to have somebody that believed in my company enough to want to invest in it.
Yeah.
But these dudes are like, they're all the way at the top of the shit, man.
That's
so
good.
they're like,
awesome.
Well,
heavy hitter.
You're gonna have to reach out when it becomes public knowledge. You have to reach out, and we'll have to get you back on, and you can give us an update as to where Motool is and where Motool's going.
Yep. I'm down. I'll come on anytime you guys want, man. Just let me know. Like I'm always happy to do stuff like that. It's fun to do. Honestly, I enjoy it. It's way better than most things that I do. And it's nice to meet people. I mean, I get stuck in this apartment, and with the pandemic, it isn't like people are out much anyway. So it's kind of nice to just see some humans, honestly.
That's
without
why
masks.
We like to do it. It's fun. Shoot the shit with people, meet.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to keep you up to date, man. And I'm pretty like open with my business. I'm not a very official guy. Like I tend to try to share stuff when I can and stuff.
And you totally fit in here. We're officially very unofficial.
I shoot straight for sure. If there's one thing I do is I won't bullshit you, man.
I gotta say I'm actually
other than it. I will if I'm fucking with you. That's an
that's a given.
I will bullshit. I'll slide one in on you and let you have it here and there, but you'll know in the end. I won't leave it late.
That's just game on in this crowd.
No, I'm definitely a shit talker when you get to know me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm actually quite impressed that Wesley has not farted his way through this podcast, if I'm honest.
I blew it out before we started.
Is that what you did?
I blew it out.
I'm very impressed.
Blew it up.
It's a silent deadly with him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
Usually there is at least 1 or 2 farts per episode.
Well, we've gained a Patreon from it.
Yeah,
This is
right?
We did.
This is true.
Literally got a Patreon sponsor.
At some point, we're always devolving to farts and talks of trail shit.
Yeah, that happens, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
Shit happens. We should have called this podcast.
So
no doubt.
If someone wants to reach out, John, what's your website again?
Social media.
Oh, just motool.co. So motool.co.
Perfect.
I couldn't get the motool.com, so no M on it.
Are you on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that?
Yeah, and the email and phone number, all that goes to me. You'll get a hold of me right here, like right here on my phone. And then,
literally right here.
We're on Instagram and Twitter, we're Motool Inc. And then on Facebook, we're motool.co.
Cool.
And but we should, if you just search Motool, it's easy to find. And then for the app on the place, Google Play and the App Store, if you just search for Motool, you'll find Service Assistant is the main app. That's where you keep all your bikes and stuff. And you'll also see, and I just updated this today, there's a virtual remote, and all it does is connects and does the virtual remote for Slacker. Yeah. But you don't have to log in, but you can't save settings or do anything. It's just for people that think I'm trying to steal their information, they don't want to log into the goddamn app. So it's for those guys. If you don't want to have to log in, there's still a virtual remote and you can still use that. You just can't save settings and do all the stuff that I like. Service Assistant for. So both of those are up there now, and then I'm going to be releasing it. I got to do some more testing, but it's going to come out on web minus the virtual remote. Like it won't be able to do the Bluetooth, but you'll still be able to get on a web browser, get all your settings and stuff. And then I'm going to add where you can share stuff and add in a social component to it at some point where you could share with other riders and be friends and a bunch of that stuff. So it's got a long ways to go, but it's been a long road to get here. Yeah. Oh, look, the puppy. Oh, what up, puppy?
That's Goose.
That's Goose. He's a bit
Goose?
soft. Yeah.
I love dogs. They don't have to be anything. They can be soft or anything, just not mean.
Oh, yeah, he's not mean. I mean, well, unless Wesley scares him.
Unless you scare the shit out of him by mistake.
He snuck up behind him earlier and he wasn't impressed.
Yeah, he was scared.
I've had some dogs that were amazing judges of character that would just tune into somebody and hate them, And I'd be, what is the deal? And a week later, I'd be, oh, that dude did what?
Yeah. then you find
dogs
out.
Dogs are a good judge.
Oh, yeah.
If the dog doesn't like a person, take note of it.
There's very few dogs I don't get along with. I love the puppy dogs. What up, Goose? How you doing, buddy?
He's a soft ass.
Yeah.
So
that's rad.
Well, that's cool, man. It's been really nice to talk to you. And
for sure.
You would totally fit in with the bike squad over here. We're just like the finest collection of weirdos you ever saw.
Yes.
Yeah, no, maybe I can get out there and hang out at some point, man. I'm hoping the next couple of years. get back to doing some traveling and stuff. So definitely keep an eye on I'm horrible about staying in touch with people, but if you watch me on Instagram or shoot me an email and
yes,
bug me like that, I'm pretty easy to find usually, honestly. Probably too easy.
Yeah, we definitely will. We'll keep an eye out. And if you decide to come up to New Brunswick, you'll definitely get to meet the bike squad. That's for certain.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, but I'm not coming at this time of year. You guys already convinced.
I wouldn't recommend. Don't do
June.
Yeah, June's usually good.
Yeah, we're getting like
June through
15 or
September.
18 inches of snow tomorrow.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the snow though. Where I grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we used to, we've got up to, in the 70s, we had 7 feet in 48 hours.
Damn.
And in 2008, we got 5 feet in 24 hours, man. It snowed 2 feet, rained, and then snowed 3 more feet on top. So when you were shoveling, there was 3 feet of powder and then 2 feet of slush. And that shit weighed it was like 100 pounds of shovel. And we had to dig our tour van out. We had to dig this big passenger van out, right? Just so that we could go over, and we blew up like 2 sets of chains so we could go dig my mom out.
Yeah. I love the snow.
So I
snowboard and
I don't
have a snowmobile, so we like.
Yeah, I don't miss it though. Honestly, like to be in the snow for a couple of days would be great, but I don't miss it, man. I don't envy you guys that. It's chilly here, but it's still dry out for the most part. No snow. And 40.
It's good to play in on the ski bikes and stuff, but when it comes to shoveling, fuck that.
Yeah.
I can do without
you
it.
shovel it and then it goes away. It just disappears anyway, man.
So what are you ripping for motocross bike? I used to have dirt bikes when I was young and shit like that. What are you riding for?
I got a Husky FC 450 of 2020.
Nice. Yeah. How long you been on a Husky?
Dude, this is my first Austrian bike, and I love it. There's a couple of things I don't like about it. It's a steel frame, so if you really get in the throttle and the chop, it is so stiff. It is unbelievable. It goes straight through the motor into the frame and up your ass.
Beat your teeth out.
And then, like the forks, if you land front end high and slap them down, they're a little weird. But I had all my suspension rebuilt by this company in Bend, Craft Moto. It's the same company as Cushcore, and they have a suspension company for Moto. Man, they dyno test this shit. They told me how bad my old stuff sucked and told me what I already knew about it by just sticking it on the dyno. I go, man, this looks like shit. I'm all, you're telling me it does this. And they said, I could see it. And I'm all, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I can actually revalve it on the fly. I can actually change it and soften up the valving inside.
Jeez.
And then, but the way they built it for me is like, it's so plush and it just wants to move forward, and the bike turns better than like my Suzuki, which is notoriously a bike that's known to turn well. Mm-hmm. And that 450 weighs the same as my old Suzuki 250. It's 223 pounds wet, man.
Really?
That thing is so fast. Oh yeah, dude, it is. That bike, and just stock out of the gate stock. Nothing about it. I don't even have new tires on it right now.
I get out of dirt bikes back when the 4-strokes were just starting to come in, and all the AMA was still 2-stroke 125 250 stuff. Yep. And the 4-strokes were just starting to come in.
It was a huge adjustment to go to the 4-strokes for me, but honestly, I love them, man. You can go up a jump face and just roll the throttle on and boom to the moon.
Absolutely.
Whereas on a 2-stroke, man, that thing with that back end would want to come out, a 2-stroke is wild. You don't want to get on the throttle on a jump face on a 500, man.
You ever ride a CR500 or a KX500?
Oh yeah, I grew up racing CR500 in the 80s.
I've driven one once or twice, and those things are an absolute animal.
I used to have I raced them from like 83 through 86, and I gear them 1443, so I'd put on a bigger front sprocket and a tiny little rear sprocket. Yeah. And I mean, I could do wheel sounds at 70, just power wheelie that. It was amazing. But motocross, it was a handful. I was like 160 pounds, but I'd moto it too, man. I'd gear it down and moto it with all the big muscle head construction dudes. And I show up with I had like the pink JT racing gear. And I'm like 160 pounds, and these guys are laughing at me at the gate. And that first moto, I got a horrible start. I passed everybody but the first dude. I passed like 6 dudes in 3 turns and then hit the first place guy's rear tire and stalled it. And they all went around me. I passed all of them again and got 3rd. And then we showed up at the gate that second moto. I was 16 years old on 500, and those guys were all business. They were like, that kid in the pink gear just smoked us.
Yeah, they weren't laughing then, were they?
No, it was fun. It was real fun racing bikes and growing up in the 80s. Like, it was amazing. And it was when my first bike was an 81 CR250 Elsinore. And it was when they first went to the monoshock air cooled. It had the white shrouds on it.
Yeah.
It had the red motor and stuff. Super badass, man. And that was like when motocross entered the modern. That was the big transition to what's going on now. And it was it was a great time to be in it. We got to do Gary Bailey Motocross School and, race the Nationals, race Saddleback, all the big California stuff. So
Saddleback is awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. That was a great time. I'd go back anytime. I'd ditch all the technology and have to wait till Monday to get my money out of the bank any day, man.
I'd go back to that time just to get away from this COVID time.
Yeah.
That's exactly, a whole other story we won't go into.
So what are you rocking for a mountain bike?
No, that's Johnny? Too depressing, man. It's been a good conversation. We don't want to go there, man.
Yeah. What are you rocking for a mountain bike?
I just got a little Specialized stump jumper. So nothing fancy, man. I do. I don't get much time on it, honestly. I try to go riding around here and stuff, but usually if I'm packing the van and going, I end up going to the track because I got to do business stuff anyway. Lately I've been testing that black box, so I'm kind of stuck on my dirt bike, but I don't argue with that either, man. I don't have to pedal the 450.
I have to stick
to a mountain
bike because I'm fat. Right on. Anyone else have anything else to add?
No, John. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We need to have wine night, and you need to talk to us about ostriches.
Yes.
Off the air, we'll just shoot the shit.
I got all kinds of stories. If we got into the band days,
I need to hear all about your ostriches, and I need to hear about your music career.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one detail about the music career. The first band that my brother and I started in the early 90s was called Shit Bastard. Just we wanted a band that had a name that was 2 cuss words, so you couldn't put it on anything, so that you couldn't put it on the radio or anything. And it worked. People would put up flyers and call us Hit Star and all this shit, but you couldn't put Shit Bastard and stuff. Yeah. And then when we'd show up for shows, we'd just sell out T-shirts. Everybody go, Shit Bastard. They didn't care what we sounded like. They just had to have a Shit Bastard shirt, you know?
Is any of your music available, or can we look it up and listen?
Yeah, a lot of it was pre-internet, honestly. The last shit we did that you could probably find would be This Runs on Blood.
Yep.
And you probably will find still some videos. That band broke up in like 2010. That was my last band. Yeah. But I played guitar, and it was like super wild ass hardcore rip 'em up shit.
We got a buddy that's right into that.
Oh my god!
We have awesome. We have a metalhead in our group. Totally.
Yeah. That was I loved playing music. It was fun. It just the scene got to be too much by my mid 40s. You know.
That's what he says too. He's not quite that old, but yeah, he said it's quite a scene.
Mid-40s.
Yeah, he'll get there probably. I did my last tour like not drinking at all, and actually it was great because I remembered so much more of the people I met and the things that happened.
Yeah.
But man, trying to get sleep, unbelievable, because everybody else was just ripping it up, doing whatever, up all night and shit. So it was kind of hitting a point where it just was not working for me, and touring was hard with the business because I'd be on the road and trying to manage people's computer networks and servers and shit. Yeah. You know, I could do for the most part, but you always wonder when something's going to crash and they need you on site.
Yeah.
You're in Seattle, like ripped.
Well, that's sounds like a pretty exciting life.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it's something else. It's just what I've chosen to do. Sometimes I'm not sure what to think of it, honestly, but I tend to just go forward and then look back and go, wow, that was wild. Look at that. Exactly. But thank you guys, man. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and thanks for your time. And I'm down to shoot the shit whenever, man. We could talk about ostriches or bands or UFOs.
We're in.
Awesome.
Definitely in. Thank you, John. I'll let you know when the V4 turns up, and
Awesome.
Yes.
we'll get some videos done on that. A little bit of tech setup, get that sent over for you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Right on. Well, good luck with the podcast, and you guys have a good weekend.
You too,
Yes,
man.
don't
You
work
too, John.
too much this weekend.
I won't. If I did, it'll be good. I will work. I'm going to work tonight. I want to get into some other shit on that app, but it's good. I'm excited to do it. I was telling my mom today, I'm all excited. She's like, well, don't work. Take a break, honey. I'll probably kick back. I'll watch Supercross tomorrow and relax maybe.
Good.
There you go.
Good.
Solid
Enjoy.
plan.
Awesome. Will you enjoy?
Yeah, you guys have a good night. Thanks.
You too.
You too. Thanks, John.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you got it. Later.
He was super cool.
That's a wild
John's a
dude
cool
right
guy.
there.
Oh, the stories he
is-
could tell.
I know, right? Like I didn't know. And obviously I'd looked at the website and I'd gone through stuff. But,
Well, that's more than I've done.
oh well, I was more organized.
Absolutely.
So I wrote some notes. I knew about the tool because I remember Darren doing Jeff and Alice's bikes last year. But I didn't really understand kind of. I still don't really understand some of the
No, that's
the
what
things.
they're for.
Yeah, but I do think that it would be a beneficial tool
Oh,
for
absolutely.
bike shops.
I think it's worthwhile. Like I
It's
said,
really
you're
good.
spending that much on a bloody bike, or you're buying a new fork at $2,200.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you put the effort in to get the most out of it?
Right.
I don't want to buy a new fork for that kind of money and like ride like shit. Don't check the air or the tokens or the rebound. Ride like shit, and like you're just wasting your money.
But-
May as well just have a crappy Suntour XCR.
Dog just stole my
The
cookie.
dog just robbed the cookie.
Well, he sniffed it with his. He put his little wet nose on it. I don't want dog drooly nose all over my cookie. Your little gay
Wait,
cookies are over
what's
there.
he's got his
Hold
isis
on.
finger?
You're either gonna shit yourself or you're gonna fart.
Matt Blockley.
I thought you were supposed to call him. I thought you were supposed to call him like Fuckley or
Cock
something.
Mackley.
Cockley.
No,
Copley,
that's
man.
that's what he does with narc.
Oh, that's the other guy with Narc
Yeah.
Couch, yeah.
Huh? I don't listen
He
to him.
sponsors Narcouch.
He does?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I see how it is. And he calls himself Cockley.
Matt Poo Cockley.
Matt Poo Cockley. It's got a nice ring to it. And it's really fitting.
Was it the dog that was farting during that?
It was
Yes,
the dog that
it
was
was the
fine.
dog.
I kept looking at Wes, but
Fuck! It was so bad. Because I looked at you, I gave you the death glare because I thought it came out of you because it smelled
Wasn't
like
me.
a gluten
Hey,
fart.
you'll know if it's me because I get the gangster lane.
I know, but I didn't know if you was being polite because we was interviewing John. I didn't know whether the gangster lean was, you know.
When have I ever been polite?
You're such a twat. Will you stop? Okay, I gotta say, whenever you do the introduction, you do your really scary eyes over the top of the mic at me, and then
Absolutely.
and when you was eating, then you was like chewing, and all I could see was your big muff, and then hear you in my ears.
I could hear me in my ears.
I'd be surprised if you were anywhere else.
Oh, frig.
But you smell
No.
colours too, don't you?
Oh, fuck off. He was cool. Your face when he was like, yes, and I was an ostrich farmer. And you just all went, what? Tell me more.
When he said ostrich farmer, I went, huh? It took me about 5 seconds to say, he said ostrich farmer. It's like, what the hell?
If a man loves birds,
Like,
he's good in my book.
what a life.
400-pound fucking psycho chicken.
I know, but what a life. Like that's. Did you fart?
No,
No.
I didn't fart.
Oh, what
The
was
stuff
it?
that he sees.
That was my response to being an ostrich farmer. Not a chance.
I'd like to go chase
Although,
one
I
down
don't
and
know,
grab
I
it by the neck. That'd be good cardio.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
no.
knew when I saw him I said, he kind of reminded me of Kim Mitchell. And I said to her,
She did. It was lost. I have no idea.
Did anyone write down the name of his band?
Shit bastard.
Shit bastard.
I know.
Well,
That was.
But what was the other one he said after that, though?
I forget. We'll have to
No,
listen
the
to
song.
podcast again.
Yeah, because
Well,
we got to look that up.
Can we put on Spotify?
Yeah, we'll look
Shit
him up.
bastard.
Yeah, it doesn't come up.
Oh, did
Just
you
get a
try?
random playlist. I already
You might,
tried.
might Google it or something. Shit bastard playlist.
Oh my god! But like,
I knew he had to play guitar.
like, I didn't realize that he made them in his in his house. Stop.
Everything's got to
Right,
start
man.
somewhere.
I know, but that's
I'm making
incredible.
us money.
But look at the product. Like, look at the quality of the packaging.
Yeah,
everything,
everything.
the quality of the product. You would
That's what
never have
surprised me.
any
I'm
idea.
like, you built this in your apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
And then
Man.
the fact that he was like, I've got the item that he was saying that he was
The
like,
doohickey.
3D printing behind him, and he's like,
Yeah.
what? Okay, that was pretty cool. I'm a little bit in awe. Oh man, what it would be like. We'd have to go visit him. That would be so cool.
That
Portland.
would be a
Yeah,
trip.
Pacific Northwest. We should.
How
Just
far-
pack up the Jeep. Screw it.
How many faraways is that?
Yeah, 5,000
Oh,
kilometers.
That's a lot of faraways.
About 5 days drive.
5 days. We've driven close to that. Laurie and I have.
Fuck me, you can't drive to Fredericton without falling asleep.
No shit.
I actually can. I can get to Halifax without
We'll
falling
have
asleep.
to
Oh,
bring a trailer and you guys can just live in the trailer and sleep.
How
while
did,
we
you,
drive.
how did you make your cookie? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
No, stop chewing in the microphone, you heathen.
No, I wasn't sure if you could hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that was super cool. He was
Yeah.
super cool.
He's a rad dude.
Yes.
I think more people got to get into this and just really take some time on their setup.
I'm excited. Like Jeff told me about Allison doing her suspension and that she could really notice the difference and stuff. Like I've just never done anything. Pump
That's
up
it.
my
It's
shock, pump up my fork, do my 30.
And that's what most people do,
30%
right?
sag
They look
and-
at the rider tables or they go on their app on the phone and you set it to what it says and that's it. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sat here and all I did was just lift my right ass cheek to see if I could just squint at what numbers the pod track thing was at. And then Laurie went, 1 hour. But it was the fact that her whole body went, 1 hour.
Oh, her arms flail like crazy when she's talking.
But it was the whole
like
what? Oh man alive.
you guys are weird.
I know.
Yeah. Well,
These are good.
They're not weed cookies, if anybody asks. They are I don't know what they are.
gluten cookies.
They're gluten cookies.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So,
What?
we went down to Quest this week.
Really?
Fat biking.
I didn't.
How far did you ride, Darren?
Some of us have to work.
Yeah, well, about 600 meters.
Oh,
Yeah, rode up the road. Erin decided she was cold, didn't want to ride through a paddy. So we swapped out the bikes and went back. That was it.
oh, geez.
So back went off and rode with a Quest crew. Got some wicked pictures.
It was super fun.
I bet.
Those fat bikes are super light.
It was super cold.
I hope we get invited to
fucking
go do
freezing.
that sometime, Laurie. Don't you?
Oh no, it was good, and it was like I'm not as wintry as you guys are. I get cold easily. It was fucking freezing. But just to see Hillsborough in the winter it's so different.
No doubt.
So different. Like we rode down Dynamite.
Sorry.
Wow.
What are you playing, Miss Laura?
Unbelievable.
Laurie.
Put your phone on silent.
Grace is having a vet emergency. Her cat has a blockage, and they've told her it's going to be about $2,500.
Holy.
Well, between $2,000 and $2,500. She works minimum wage. What the frig is she supposed to do?
Frig.
So yeah, just you guys talk amongst yourself for a minute. I got to deal with my kid.
I don't really know where to go with that information.
Me either. That's unfortunate.
Anyway,
but
yeah, that's terrible. Well,
I did nervous laugh.
So-
I'm not laughing at the cat, but
fat biking.
yes.
Do you like
so,
it?
yes, no. But yeah. No, I did. Okay, I didn't not like it. It's just, it's cold. I just, I don't.
There's things
I
you
don't
can do to stay
cold.
warm.
No, there isn't. My hands and feet, the blood gets like halfway down my legs and goes, oh my God, it's so far. I'm not going any further. So, anyway, but no, it was really, and like I said, like coming down Dynamite, especially after we rode it in the summer and the winter contrast on the two, just mind blowing. Mind blowing.
I've never ridden studded tires before. Goose, you're on my wire, dude. Thank you. Those are fucking awesome.
Are they grippy?
Yeah, super grippy.
Mm.
You enjoyed all 600 meters of it?
All 600 meters, yeah. Yeah, no, they're super grippy, and those Quest flurries are so friggin' light. It's crazy. It's mad to think that whole bike, including those fucking huge 4.8-inch studded tires, is lighter than my trail bike.
I know, it's hard to believe.
Ridiculous.
Yep. That's what surprised me was how lightweight they are. I was like, holy crap.
The whole bike. Like, I mean, I drove. I originally rode one of the older ones, and then I tried one of the new, like, I think it was like a last season one and then a this season one. And then I tried, but they're so light. Like, there was nothing to them at all.
Well, the fat bikes we had before, I mean, they weren't tanks, but they were significantly
Yours was
heavier.
heavy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like
there was nothing to them.
Steel frame.
Yeah. But no, it was pretty incredible to just ride something different, and then, like I said, see a trail system that I've never seen or would never see in winter, like all the big fir trees. Are they with all the snow on?
Fir, hemlock, spruce, that type
yeah,
of tree,
like you know when it gets all the snow on it and it gets dead heavy
It's
and
pretty,
droopy and like it was all heavy and droopy, and then they've what's the word?
packed down the trail and and stuff. Yeah.
For those
groomed.
listeners who can't see what's going on here,
She's giving us sign language.
I think if you tie Becky's hands together, she'll go mute. She won't be able
Well, I
to
couldn't
talk.
remember the word groom. It's been a fucking long week.
It's like a lifetime of charades with you, because when the word doesn't come, it's all about you got to guess what she's doing with her hands.
Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Is
I
this
understand
clear?
that sign language.
Are you clear with what I'm trying to say to you right now? And for those listeners that cannot see me, I'm currently flipping my husband off because he is an asshole.
You married it.
Yes. Anyway, so
That was your choice.
I know. So I I also made notes here that we was going to talk about breathing, Laurie's punching stomach story, and coral reef.
Coral reef.
Well,
All right. What have we got ahead of that? We've got MTB
gosh, yeah.
Atlantic Summit is rescheduled for June the 2nd to the 5th. Tickets available soon. Keep an eye out on their Instagram page. They're posting links to that.
we should tell everyone as well if they want to do any provincial campsites to book on February 2nd.
Yes.
2nd.
That's when the system opens.
2nd, not the 1st.
That's right.
The 2nd.
That's right.
And yeah, you wanted to talk about breathing because you'd had a conversation with Mr.
I
Mooney.
was talking with Matt. Just kind of briefly, you know.
Breathly.
Yes, briefly. Good segue. So, the reason I always fucking hated running was breathing. I always find that I breathe from my upper chest rather than my stomach. And I think that's a male versus female thing. All right.
I don't know what kind of
Let's let Miss
Jenga
Laurie
crazy
out for a
person
minute.
you think I am. Are you out? Are you in? Oh God, that's a bum. That's a bum. That's okay. That's okay. That's good job. I'm only a tiny stocked human.
Yeah, so I always kind of struggled with breathing when I was running. Years ago, I used to do cross country for school, and breathing just kicked my fucking ass. And then biking as well, you know, you get them days and it's hot and you just can't seem to get your rhythm. Kicks your ass and your heartbeat goes through the roof. And something I've found there with running the Zwift sessions in the morning is I've had the time and the ability to, well, not be worrying about what's going to kill me on a fucking trail and just focus on being able to breathe. So I figured I'd just send a little email off to Matt, and he came back and basically said, yeah, you want to breathe from your diaphragm in through your nose, out through your mouth. Well, I'm a mouth breather. I like breathing in through my mouth. That's just the way it is. As big as this nose is, it just doesn't provide enough airflow, apparently. So, yeah, that was it. Focusing on the breathing, being able to get that under control. And what I found there was, like, on the Zwift stuff, even nailing a climb and putting some weight down on the pedals, I managed to keep my heart rate
significantly lowers your heart rate.
Oh, yeah, it's insane.
That's what I do. When mine gets up, I go from my normal pant to...
And you can tell like the difference.
Real
You can really see it on your heart rate monitor when you lose that focus, because your fucking heart rate just goes.
I find I can drop
all over,
like 10 beats a minute,
10, 15 easily, yeah.
Just from breathing.
I'm gonna tell you in the morning when I go on the Zwift.
I'm gonna be on the Zwift at 0600.
Fuck off! If you wake me up at 0600, you're gonna be dead. Not on the Zwift.
I'm not gonna wake you up. No. Anyway, that was my little epiphany with breathing. And Matt basically just confirmed that breathing is a lot of, like, your heart rate is dependent on how much oxygen's going around your body and supplying your muscles. So
I still hate
if your
running.
breathing's fucking and you're not, like, taking a good, getting enough oxygen in your lungs, your heart rate is going to be erratic, just trying to move enough blood around to get the oxygen going, right? Mm-hmm. So
I found the last couple of times that I was on the Zwift that if I kept the top number, thank you. If I kept that number at between 180 and 200, my heart rate stayed around 170. But then if I went above that, but then my breathing's stupid and I don't think I breathe very well.
But that's just it, right? That was my whole point to Matt, was that breathing's something, again, that we take for granted and never really give any focus to understanding whether we're breathing right while we're exercising.
Well, and to add to Laurie's punching stomach story, because she's not here, so I'm going to have to ad-lib and try and remember what she told us. But when she was doing her choir
in music class or something like that,
she said that they would come round, like the instructor would come round, and if you weren't breathing properly or something, then the instructor would punch you in the guts or the stomach.
Yeah, if you're not singing from your diaphragm. Or
whatever, then she said that they'd punch you. I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, that might be. I think might get in a little trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's wrong with the world. You need to start punching kids.
You didn't do your English homework?
Poof.
Yeah, I'll teach you, little shit.
Well, on that note, I'm going to pretend to be Laurie for a second. We're at 1 hour and 41 minutes.
Do you want to touch the button?
Meh, don't touch the button. I don't want to touch the button. Don't touch it, E.T.
I'm not touching the button. My buttons are... No.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
No, you did that the last time. That was super.
Come again.
Fucking lame.
Anything else to add, anyone?
No, I'm good. Breathe from your diaphragm. Buy a slacker. Check out Motool.
Thank you for joining us.
What was that?
Breathing from my diaphragm with a flex stomach. Thank you for joining us on the Mountain Bike Connection podcast. Peace out.
Laurie also says bye.
Yes, bye from Laurie, who had to leave for a family emergency.
Maybe you should do pigeon noises. There we go. Okay.
She's here in spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Later.
Oh,
hit the button.
Do I get to turn it
You get to hit the button.
It's too much pressure. I
Press
can't
it.
do it. I can't do it.
Which one?
I can't.
The red one.
Is it the red one?